In the United States, Black individuals have the legal right to purchase homes, a right that was solidified through landmark legislation, such as the Fair Housing Act of 1968. However, despite this legal framework, systemic barriers persist that significantly hinder Black homeownership. These challenges are multifaceted, encompassing discriminatory lending practices, unequal access to mortgage financing, and the lingering effects of redlining, which historically denied Black families the opportunity to invest in property. As we delve deeper into this topic, it's crucial to examine specific states where these barriers are particularly pronounced. For instance, in states like Georgia and Texas, Black homebuyers often face higher interest rates and stricter loan requirements compared to their white counterparts, making the dream of homeownership feel increasingly out of reach. Understanding these systemic issues is vital, not only for those directly affected, but for society as a whole. Homeownership is a cornerstone of wealth accumulation and stability. When entire communities are systematically excluded from this opportunity, it perpetuates cycles of poverty and inequality. By engaging with these realities, we can foster a more informed dialogue about the necessary reforms needed to dismantle these barriers. It is essential to recognize that the fight for equitable access to housing is ongoing. By shedding light on these challenges, we can work towards a more just and inclusive future for all individuals seeking to own a home in America. State 10, Mississippi. In Mississippi, a state with a significant Black population, the struggle for homeownership remains a pressing issue. Despite comprising a substantial portion of the population, Black residents face alarmingly low homeownership rates, which starkly contrasts with their white counterparts. This disparity can be attributed to a combination of discriminatory lending practices and deep-rooted economic disparities that have persisted over generations. Many Black homebuyers encounter obstacles, such as higher interest rates, limited access to credit, and a lack of support from financial institutions, which often favor white applicants. These discriminatory practices not only hinder the ability to secure loans, but also contribute to a cycle of economic disadvantage that makes homeownership seem unattainable. Furthermore, systemic racism plays a significant role in shaping the home-buying landscape in Mississippi. Historical policies, such as redlining, have systematically excluded Black residents from desirable neighborhoods, limiting their options and driving down property values in predominantly Black areas. This exclusion not only affects individual aspirations for homeownership, but also perpetuates broader economic inequalities within communities. The impact of these systemic barriers is profound, as they restrict wealth accumulation and hinder the ability of Black families to invest in their futures. Addressing these challenges is crucial for fostering equitable access to homeownership in Mississippi. By recognizing and confronting the systemic racism that underlies these struggles, we can work towards creating a more inclusive environment where all residents have the opportunity to achieve their dreams of owning a home. State 9, Louisiana. Hurricane Katrina had a devastating impact on Black homeownership in Louisiana, particularly in New Orleans, where the storm disproportionately affected Black communities. The displacement of Black homeowners following the hurricane was significant, as many were forced to evacuate and face challenges in returning to their neighborhoods. The destruction of homes and infrastructure left countless families without a place to live, exacerbating existing inequalities in homeownership. In the aftermath, predatory lending practices emerged as a major hurdle for those seeking to rebuild. Many displaced homeowners found themselves targeted by lenders offering high-interest loans with unfavorable terms, making it difficult to secure financing for repairs or new homes. Additionally, The rising costs of insurance in hurricane-prone areas further complicated the recovery process, as many Black residents struggled to afford the premiums necessary to protect their investments. These financial burdens created a barrier to homeownership that many have yet to overcome. As a result, the ongoing challenges in recovering homeownership rates in Louisiana remain pronounced. Despite efforts to revitalize affected neighborhoods, Black homeownership has not returned to pre-Katrina levels, highlighting the long-term effects of the disaster. The combination of displacement, predatory lending, and high insurance costs has created a complex landscape that continues to hinder the ability of Black families to achieve stable homeownership. Addressing these issues is essential for fostering equitable recovery and ensuring that all residents have the opportunity to rebuild their lives and communities in the wake of such a catastrophic event. State 8 Indiana. The homeownership gap between Black and white residents in Indiana is a stark reflection of historical injustices and ongoing systemic barriers. Redlining, a practice that began in the 1930s, systematically denied Black families access to mortgage loans and insurance based on the racial composition of their neighborhoods. This discriminatory policy not only restricted homeownership opportunities for Black residents, but also contributed to the long-lasting effects of economic disinvestment in predominantly Black communities. Today, the legacy of redlining continues to manifest in various ways, as current real estate policies often disadvantage Black buyers. For instance, many Black applicants face higher interest rates and stricter lending requirements compared to their white counterparts, making it more challenging to secure financing for a home. Additionally, the disparity in home appraisals based on neighborhood demographics further exacerbates the homeownership gap. Homes in predominantly Black neighborhoods are frequently appraised at lower values than similar homes in white neighborhoods, regardless of their actual condition or market potential. This undervaluation not only affects the ability of Black families to build equity, but also perpetuates a cycle of economic disadvantage. As a result, the homeownership gap in Indiana remains a pressing issue that reflects broader societal inequalities. Addressing these disparities requires a comprehensive understanding of the historical context and a commitment to reforming real estate policies, ensuring equitable access to homeownership for all residents, regardless of race. By confronting these systemic barriers, we can work towards closing the homeownership gap and fostering a more inclusive housing market. State 7 Missouri. In Missouri, the home ownership rates for Black individuals remain notably low, despite a significant Black population residing in the state. This disparity is particularly evident in urban areas like St. Louis and Kansas City, where Black residents often face substantial barriers to home ownership. Discriminatory appraisal practices play a critical role in perpetuating this issue, as homes in predominantly Black neighborhoods are frequently appraised at lower values than similar properties in white neighborhoods. This undervaluation not only limits the equity that Black homeowners can build, but also discourages potential buyers from investing in their communities, further entrenching economic disparities. Additionally, securing fair lending terms poses a significant challenge for Black individuals in Missouri. Many face higher interest rates and stricter loan requirements compared to their white counterparts, which can make obtaining a mortgage feel unattainable. These discriminatory lending practices are often rooted in systemic racism, leading to a cycle of disadvantage that hinders Black families from achieving stable home ownership. The combination of low appraisal values and unfair lending terms creates a formidable barrier that prevents many Black residents from realizing their dreams of home ownership. Addressing these challenges is essential for fostering equitable access to housing in Missouri, By raising awareness of these systemic issues and advocating for policy reforms, we can work towards closing the home ownership gap and ensuring that all individuals, regardless of race, have the opportunity to own a home and build wealth for future generations. State 6, Nebraska. In Nebraska, the historical and current barriers to Black home ownership are deeply rooted in the legacy of segregation, which has significantly shaped the housing market. Segregationist policies and practices, such as redlining and discriminatory zoning laws, have historically restricted Black families' access to quality housing and neighborhoods. This legacy continues to impact current housing markets, as many Black residents find themselves confined to areas with limited resources and opportunities, which often translates to lower property values and fewer investment prospects. Additionally, the effects of gentrification have further complicated the landscape for Black neighborhoods in Nebraska. As urban areas undergo revitalization, rising property values and increased demand for housing often lead to the displacement of long-standing Black residents. This process not only disrupts established communities, but also exacerbates the challenges of home ownership, as many families are priced out of their neighborhoods and struggle to find affordable housing options elsewhere. Compounding these issues is the lack of accessible home buyer assistance programs tailored to the needs of Black individuals and families. While various programs exist, they often fail to adequately address the unique barriers faced by Black home buyers, such as discriminatory lending practices and the need for financial education. As a result, many potential homeowners remain unaware of available resources or find them difficult to navigate. Addressing these historical and current barriers is essential for fostering equitable access to home ownership in Nebraska, ensuring that all residents have the opportunity to build wealth and stability through home ownership. State 5, South Dakota. In South Dakota, Black individuals face significant challenges when applying for mortgages, contributing to a troubling trend of high mortgage denial rates among this demographic. Studies have shown that Black applicants are often denied loans at a disproportionately higher rate compared to their white counterparts, reflecting systemic biases within the lending process. This disparity not only limits access to home ownership, but also perpetuates economic inequality within communities. Additionally, issues surrounding property tax assessments and undervaluation further complicate the mortgage application process for Black buyers. Homes in predominantly Black neighborhoods are frequently appraised at lower values than similar properties in more affluent, predominantly white areas. This undervaluation can hinder the ability of Black applicants to secure adequate financing, as lenders often base loan amounts on appraised values. Consequently, many Black individuals find themselves at a disadvantage when trying to purchase homes in their communities. Compounding these challenges is the lack of financial resources and opportunities available to Black buyers in South Dakota. Many face barriers such as limited access to credit, lower income levels, and a lack of financial education, which can make navigating the mortgage process daunting. Furthermore, the absence of targeted assistance programs designed to support Black home buyers exacerbates these issues, leaving many potential homeowners without the necessary tools to succeed. Addressing these challenges is crucial for fostering equitable access to home ownership in South Dakota, ensuring that all individuals have the opportunity to achieve their dreams of owning a home and building wealth for future generations. State 4, North Dakota. In North Dakota, the challenges of Black home ownership are particularly pronounced, highlighted by an extremely low home ownership rate among Black residents. This disparity is alarming, especially in a state where the overall home ownership rate is relatively high. The lack of access to affordable housing options and the systemic barriers that Black individuals face contribute significantly to this issue. One of the critical factors hindering Black home ownership is the absence of supportive networks for Black buyers. Unlike other communities that may have established resources and mentorship programs to guide prospective homeowners, Black residents in North Dakota often find themselves isolated in their pursuit of home ownership. This lack of community support can make navigating the complexities of the housing market and mortgage process even more daunting. Additionally, workforce discrimination plays a significant role in limiting housing opportunities for Black individuals. Many face barriers in employment that can affect their income stability and creditworthiness, making it challenging to secure financing for a home. Discriminatory hiring practices and wage disparities can lead to economic instability, which directly impacts the ability to save for a down payment or qualify for a mortgage. As a result, the intersection of low home ownership rates, the absence of supportive networks, and the effects of workforce discrimination creates a challenging environment for Black individuals seeking to own homes in North Dakota. Addressing these unique challenges is essential for fostering equitable access to housing and ensuring that all residents have the opportunity to achieve their dreams of home ownership. State 3, Iowa. In Iowa, Black residents face significant barriers to home ownership, resulting in a low home ownership rate that falls below the national average. This disparity is particularly concerning given the importance of home ownership in building wealth and stability for families. One of the primary factors contributing to this issue is lending discrimination, which has a profound impact on Black applicants seeking mortgages. Studies have shown that Black individuals often encounter higher denial rates and less favorable loan terms compared to their white counterparts, even when controlling for income and creditworthiness. This systemic bias not only limits access to financing, but also perpetuates economic inequality, making it increasingly difficult for Black families to achieve their home ownership goals. Additionally, the lack of tailored resources for Black home buyers in Iowa exacerbates these challenges. While various programs exist to assist first-time home buyers, many do not specifically address the unique barriers faced by Black individuals, such as discriminatory lending practices and the need for financial education. Without access to culturally relevant resources and support networks, Black residents may struggle to navigate the complexities of the home buying process. This gap in resources can lead to feelings of isolation and frustration, further hindering their ability to secure home ownership. Addressing these barriers is crucial for fostering equitable access to housing in Iowa. By implementing targeted initiatives and promoting inclusive lending practices, we can work towards closing the home ownership gap and ensuring that all residents have the opportunity to build a stable and prosperous future through home ownership. State 2, Minnesota. In Minnesota, the significant home ownership gap between Black residents and their white counterparts is a pressing issue, rooted in a complex historical context. Racial covenants, which were widely used in the early to mid-20th century, explicitly prohibited Black families from purchasing homes in certain neighborhoods. Although these covenants were rendered illegal decades ago, their legacy continues to impact housing patterns and opportunities for Black individuals today. The effects of this historical discrimination are evident in the persistent disparities in home ownership rates, as many Black families remain confined to areas with limited resources and lower property values. Additionally, Black buyers often encounter challenges when navigating assistance programs designed to facilitate home ownership. While various initiatives exist to support first-time homebuyers, many do not adequately address the unique barriers faced by Black applicants, such as discriminatory lending practices and a lack of financial literacy resources. This gap in support can leave potential homeowners feeling overwhelmed and underprepared. Furthermore, ongoing issues with home value appraisals exacerbate the home ownership gap. Homes in predominantly Black neighborhoods are frequently appraised at lower values than similar properties in white neighborhoods, regardless of their condition or market potential. This undervaluation not only affects the ability of Black families to secure adequate financing, but also limits their capacity to build equity over time. Addressing these interconnected issues is essential for fostering equitable access to home ownership in Minnesota. By acknowledging the historical context and implementing targeted reforms, we can work towards closing the home ownership gap and promoting a more inclusive housing market for all residents. State 1, Wisconsin. In Wisconsin, the statistics surrounding Black home ownership are alarming, particularly in urban areas like Milwaukee, where historical practices such as redlining have left a lasting impact. Redlining, which systematically denied Black families access to mortgage loans and insurance based on the racial composition of neighborhoods, has contributed to a significant disparity in home ownership rates. This legacy of discrimination has created barriers that persist today, as many Black residents continue to face challenges in securing stable housing. The high rates of mortgage denials for Black applicants further illustrate the systemic issues at play. Research indicates that Black individuals in Wisconsin are denied mortgages at rates significantly higher than their white counterparts, even when accounting for income and creditworthiness. This discriminatory lending practice not only limits access to home ownership, but also perpetuates cycles of poverty and economic instability within Black communities. Additionally, statewide issues affecting Black economic mobility compound these challenges. Factors such as lower average incomes, limited access to quality education, and fewer job opportunities contribute to the difficulties Black residents face in achieving home ownership. The lack of financial resources and support networks further exacerbates the situation, making it increasingly difficult for Black families to save for down payments or qualify for loans. Addressing these alarming statistics requires a comprehensive approach that acknowledges the historical context of redlining and actively works to dismantle the barriers to home ownership. By promoting equitable lending practices and investing in community resources, Wisconsin can take significant steps toward closing the home ownership gap and fostering economic mobility for Black residents. In this video, we've explored the multifaceted challenges that Black individuals face in the journey toward homeownership across various states. From the historical legacy of segregation and discriminatory lending practices to the impacts of gentrification and urban development, these barriers are deeply entrenched and continue to affect communities today. We've highlighted the importance of understanding these systemic issues, as awareness is the first step toward meaningful change. Advocacy for housing equity is crucial in addressing these disparities. By supporting policies that promote inclusivity and protect the rights of marginalized communities, we can work together to create a more equitable housing market. We encourage you to reflect on the information shared and consider its implications for your community and beyond. If you found this video informative, please take a moment to subscribe, like, and share it with others. Spreading awareness is vital in fostering a broader dialogue about housing equity and the challenges faced by Black homebuyers. Together, we can advocate for change and ensure that everyone has the opportunity to achieve the dream of homeownership. Thank you for joining us on this important journey toward understanding and equity.